Welcome to this week's workshop where we're going to talk about what's new for January 2025. So it's the very first one of 2025. Welcome. My name is Julie Brody, the Director of Measurement for MeasureU.com. I've actually been building actionable dashboards for a really long time, since 2007, and eventually joined the MeasureU team in 2015. I've been teaching measurement marketing to people just like you since 2017, but also still the lead account manager for all of our different types of clients, along with our amazing team of instructors, which means that myself and our amazing team of instructors have lots of different skills and resources and experiences. And so if you have questions, we always love a good puzzle to solve. We always love helping you. So make sure you reach out to us in the Measure U community inside the Insiders Q&A or inside the Student Lounge. We'd love to help you inside of any one of those spaces. So post your questions. We'd love to help you. So let's go ahead and get started. Remember the one thing rule. That is the rule where if you see a bajillion golden nuggets today, don't try to collect them all. It is only one that you need to collect today and take and apply, and then come back and watch this video again and get another one thing. And before we begin, we always start with our measurement marketing framework. And that is where we start, where we all do, is marketing in the blind, where we don't know what's working. We want to be able to reliably grow our revenue and profits. We want to know what action to take in order to get the results that we're trying to get. In order to do that, we have to go through our plan, build, and launch that we see over here on the left-hand side. And to do that, we go through the questions we have, the information we need to answer the questions, and the actions we're going to take. Pro tip here. If you cannot take action, then you need to circle back and ask better questions. This is the biggest pro tip I can ever give you with anything strategy, and you'll probably hear me say this in other courses and types of things that you're going to be watching throughout Measure U, but it's just so important to remember that if you're trying to build something and you're not able to take action, then you're really just doing one of those 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 5 steps back. You're just not going to make it forward in the way that you want to. It's going to be very frustrating. And then you go into your build where you have results, traffic, and story. So tying the results to your traffic and be able to tell a story and understand what all of this stuff means. Then you'd be able to listen to that forecast, and the fun thing that we all try to do, we all try to jump straight to optimization, but finally once you get through the rest of it, then you can optimize. And guess what? You're going to go through it over and over again. And if this is like something brand new to you, you've never seen it, check out MeasureU.com. There is other courses back there. There is an entire free course actually, and workshops back there for you that guide you through this exact topic, the measurement marketing framework. So an entire expanded course, completely free for you, along with other workshops that are out there that kind of guide you through this topic as well. So make sure you check that out at MeasureU.com. So jumping over into what's new. So what is new with Google Analytics? So technically there really isn't anything fancy and fun and new. They did come up with one little thing that is kind of not quite AI-ish, but one of those automated things where it's saying, hey, you could mark this as a key event. We're giving you suggestions, which is kind of cool, but hopefully if you are planning out your measurement properly and following the framework, this would not necessarily be needed for you. But possibly if you're coming into a new client, maybe this will give you some sort of little insight. And this is like kind of like in the Google Analytics, the homepage where it might pop up if it has it. This is one of those things that kind of can roll out slowly. You may or may not see it. If there is not even a recommendation, you're not going to see it. So you may or may not see this there yet. We don't, because we are already been marking our things as key events that we need to, and it doesn't have a suggestion. So that's why I'm showing you their doc. So that's Google Analytics. Google Tag Manager, there was one kind of teeny tiny little thing if you are doing anything with Cloudflare. I'm actually just going to pull up the documentation so you can see this as well. So automated setup with Cloudflare is now available in Tag Manager. So relatively new-ish, past 30 days-ish. We're going to dismiss this. And so you can always go through the documentation. Google developer docs are usually great with their documentation, especially the nerdier you get, usually the better they are explaining things. But sometimes there are mistakes. So if you have any questions, reach out to the MeasureU community. Insiders Q&A inside the Tag Manager section would be great to ask these couple questions. We have lots of experts back there that do things with server side and these cloud things. So make sure you ask those questions there. But we're not going to deep dive onto this at this moment. Just to let you know that there is a update for that. Next, Looker Studio. And if you know me at all, obviously you saw the very beginning. I've been building dashboards for a while. Looker Studio is our dashboard home. And there's actually quite a few of Looker Studio updates. And so this is what I'm excited to show you. It's lots of little things, but let's go ahead and dive in. So here we are in our Looker Studio. We'll circle back to this here in just a moment to kind of walk you through some of the updates that are happening inside of Looker Studio. So first off, there is a auto-generated title. So if you select any one of our little charts here, this is a table, and I go over to the Style tab, and I'm actually going to zoom in a wee bit to make this easier for our eyeballs. And so we go to Style tab and we see Show Title. It's at the very, very tip top. Most of the time when we're trying to do anything with all of our other stuff with, the other things around here, we got to go to the very bottom. But this actually is at the very top. So nicely, it's there. And so this is the piece that we can go through and edit. So a kind of a cool thing that you could do here is, one of the things that we suggest is put your question in here to guide your end user, whoever is using this dashboard, to be able to use this. So possibly, if it doesn't look cluttered, you could say something like user journey breakdown by session medium. Now, our team internally would know what session medium is. Your client might just need medium or something like that. But this is, a guiding the user to understand, whoever the user of the dashboard, to understand what this section is. And then you can go through and format it. You can make it bigger text, and you can go through and adjust that as well. That is, again, it's an auto-generated title. It's like, it makes it a little bit nicer that you can have that option. So that's one of those newer things. And then jumping into the next one that we want to go through, also new, is you can go into your filters. And then you can go to create a filter. And if you choose anything that has to do with a date, hold on. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. There we go. Oh, let's choose one that actually is not part of a blended data. So we're having all of our data together. Here we go. So we're looking at a regular old GA4 data, and we're going to choose a field that is a date. So there we go. We have a date. We have new filter options. So we scroll down a little bit farther to the bottom is before, on, or after, previous, is this, is next, is. So we have lots of these little filters, which is really nice because if you are trying to figure out something, maybe you made a change on a page and you want it to be like, and you want it to be very specific, and the page is seen after this date, or the date is after this, or whatever it is. There's lots of ways that this could be useful to you to help you answer specific questions so you can take action. Because remember, our dashboard's supposed to be actionable, kind of going back to our measurement marketing framework that we talked about at the beginning. So that is something very, very useful that we're going to be able to use. And so it's like, I believe it's all of these at the very, is in the last, I think is the very first newish one, and then everything else down to the bottom. So all of those are new. Then we can also go to this new thing, or discard that, don't need that piece. And so a new thing that we can do is we can add in a scorecard. And so by default, we've always seen our scorecards as a metric because, metrics, if you're wondering what's the difference between a dimension and a metric is something that you do math with. A dimension is basically anything else. And so by default, you would see them like this. And so kind of going back up, these are all scorecards. But coming down to our handy dandy example here, This, we now have the option to change the primary field, the thing that we're viewing, as a dimension. And by default, it's just choosing event name. But we could choose, session, whatever. Let's choose session source. And my goodness, there's too many words that say session. And so we can choose Google. Now, why would you want to have this? So the possible reason that you would want to have this is what I can see is that you can possibly have several of these listed up here, and it could be just a real quick glance scoreboard of top traffic source, top event, top whatever, top medium, whatever the things are that you really really quickly want to know. Or it could be easily be used as labels. And so if you are going to be using any sort of filters or anything else that you're going to, like when you have a control filter of a drop down box, you can go through and be able to say this one would be session source. And if you do anything up here, then this label down here would be able to guide you as well. And so I think it's just, there's lots of different things that we could do with it. There isn't anything that we are going to do with it at this time, besides possibly labeling, but as because this is so new, that we're still kind of working like, what could we do with this now that we have this scorecard with this dimension. But as of right now, it's mainly going to be thinking of labeling things or possibly just giving clarity to guiding the user of what each section is talking about and stuff. So we'll let you know, possibly have another workshop on that in the future, but know that being able to change your primary dimension from metric to dimension, or primary field, I should say, from metric to dimension, is now a thing. And if you have an amazing use case, let us know at MeasureU, because maybe I haven't thought of it, maybe our team hasn't thought of it. We'd love to hear what you're doing with it as well. All right, so let's go into where we have our data. So we're going to go to our add data. Actually, let's not go there yet. We're actually going to go to our data sources first, and we're going to go into edit. So this is our GA4, and the thing that you now can do that's supposed to be easier to do is removing fields from your data source. Let's say you didn't want if you were a client, if you are the client and you don't want an agency or somebody having access to certain things in your data source, maybe you have a sensitive spreadsheet and you can't separate it into two, and you don't want them to have access to certain things, you can remove those fields so they don't get access to those. There, obviously, the best case for a spreadsheet would just create a different one so they can't have access to that. But in GA4, obviously, you can go through and remove some of these things with that if you want to. That seems like a really big pain in the behind and a big headache. And then if you accidentally remove something and like this, and you're like, crap, I didn't mean to do that. Oh no, what do I do? You can always go through and refresh fields, which is the other thing that we wanted to remind you of. Refresh fields is always extremely useful for you to be able to go through and do, because as for Google Analytics 4, as well as other platforms, especially in the Google verse, they will go through and give you new fields, new things to be able to use inside of your Looker Studio reports, but also they change the names. So all we'll see a new fields here because, hey, we didn't have city because we just deleted it. And so we just go through and apply. If there is a name, it'll be like, hey, I don't see these 7, but there's these new 7 over here, and then you'll just go through and apply. And hopefully there's the report automatically fixes itself, or you might have to go through and adjust. With that said, there has been some changes too. Let's go ahead and say done on that. We come back over here to 360. Some of the 360 connectors, these are called connectors, they have been going through and kind of updating their names to their fields, not just the tool, but their names of, like, instead of used to be CONV time, like conversion time, but abbreviated. Now it's called conversions. And so there's little changes. So you just want to go through, if you're using any of these 360 tools, just go through and make sure that you're using the most updated names and possibly the newest fields that they have. Not all of us are using 360 tools, so we're not going to go too much on that. Also, if you are doing anything with other tools outside of Google, it's just a quick reminder to say, hey, go through and see if there's anything in here that is new that you want to use. Like if you're like, I really need Facebook data. What are all the ways I can get Facebook data? And you might see, oh, Attributely is a new one. Let's go check them out. And maybe you might have a tool that is a better fit for you. So it's just a great way to easily see who's able to get you the data that you're looking for. Or ask inside a MeasureU community, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that are also doing the same thing as you are as well. Also, side note, Looker Studio has a paid version. We are currently not on the paid version because we love teaching the free stuff to you, but the paid version is getting more and more features where I'm thinking we're going to go ahead and upgrade ours soon because they are having like new automated querying your data, asking questions with Gemini and these other things. So I was kind of like, that's kind of getting a little bit more interesting. So we might end up doing that for our own account, but just know if you are on Looker Studio Pro, you do get a couple more bonus features as well. And we don't have those here, unfortunately, right now, but it is seeming to be cooler and cooler and cooler. So those are the major updates that we felt that you would benefit from with Looker Studio. There's a couple of other little things that they updated, so hopefully they'll be continuing to update. Usually they have their mass update at the end of Q3, beginning of Q4, and so they're kind of coming in a little bit late this time. So I'm sure we're going to continue to see lots of little updates throughout the next few months. So we'll be keeping you posted on those. And so let's talk about what's going on with Microsoft Clarity. All right, so there actually isn't anything super brand new and exciting to discuss with Microsoft Clarity. However, this is just a quick reminder that Microsoft Clarity is completely free and you can get all kind of great insights to your heat maps if you're trying to understand what your users may or may not be doing, how they're behaving on your page. Kind of going back to our framework, what questions do you have and the information you need and the actions you're going to take. Like maybe some of that information that you're wanting to know is, are they even seeing this? Are they even scrolling? Are they even interacting with this? Are they pressing play? And maybe you're not able to get video progression set up on your page just yet, but Microsoft Clarity is super easy to set up and fast and can start collecting your data. And there's not really any limits. And so you can be able to answer those questions pretty simply with that. So there's Microsoft Clarity, like every setup should have Microsoft Clarity on it in conjunction with whatever analytics tool that you're going to be using. So that's just a little quick reminder to be able to use that free tool. So now what's going on inside of MeasureU? Well, we actually have lots of things. Let's check it out. So here we are inside our workshop library, which is probably where you are when you're watching this, but just a reminder, this is something new. MeasureU is going to get the content first. They're going to get the content at least 2 weeks earlier than anybody else before YouTube gets it. That's something new that we transitioned to at the end of 2024 because we wanted our community members to have first access. And then YouTube, we still love you. You're still getting free videos. But guess what? If you want to have access to things earlier, like these updates, you have to be inside the MeasureU community completely free. Other parts of the free community is getting access to the resource toolbox, which is, I'm just going to scroll through this really fast because it's just a lot of things back here, all these free tools that we're going through and constantly updating those. You also can have access to a community lounge. You can see there are a lot of people back here that you can go through. I said community lounge, student lounge in the community. How about that? And then you can see there's lots of people back here to be able to ask questions with. You can also review our training calendar And in the month of December and November, we had all kind of different free training opportunities, lots and lots of different things coming up in this month. We're going through and we're adding some things in this middle section of the month, but we do have something coming up for sure on the 27th, and we'll continue to add something free for everybody every couple of weeks, so that way everyone can continue to learn and grow. So you'll be able to see those things, be able to have access to that. And that's all. This whole section is completely free. Course library is just showing you all the different courses, introducing them, and then guiding you to these other sections that you have going on here. Now that's the free stuff. If you are already part of the MeasureU community and you're one of our insiders members, then you're going to be seeing lots of things that are happening with, like we talk about a Measure Sprint. The sprints and the Measure Mastermind and the Measure Lab are all part of our Accelerator membership. So if that's not you and you're curious about that, make sure you reach out to support and they can guide you for that. But the Measure Sprint is something you can click on and learn a little bit more about. Super excited kicking that off, and on the 7th it'll be a weekly coaching call. Then every Wednesday, we also have another weekly coaching call. And then once, possibly sometimes twice a week, you have a Measure Lab that goes through a very specific topic like Google Analytics, Tag Manager, Looker Studio, AI, all these different things where you can have a Measure Lab, something guiding you and helping you get unstuck and be able to talk to an expert, a mentor, be able to get unstuck. So if you haven't seen this and you are at the accelerator level, make sure you check those out. You can always click on here and RSVP to make sure it gets put on your calendar and get all the details with that. So make sure you check those things out. And so there's lots of cool things going on in MeasureU, and just make sure that all of our members make sure they have access to all the things that they need to. Also, real quick update for anyone that is an Academy Insider or the Accelerator, we are going through and updating our quick starts over this next week or so. So basically it's currently the 6th. So the week of this week and probably the next week, we're going through and adding quizzes, which I'm super excited for. So Kayla and our team is going through and adding quizzes into our quick start, so that way you can kind of test your knowledge and go through and continue to level up your skills. Or if there's something you're not quite understanding, you can make sure you ask in the Insiders Q&A to make sure you get those skills refined. Then also, if you're like, well, hey, I want the expanded Academy courses to be able to have quizzes too, don't worry, we're working on that. That's something as soon as we get done with the quick starts, we'll circle back and go through the Academy and add quizzes and fun things for that one as well. So we're excited to be able to add that for you as well. Yay! So lots of cool things going on inside of MeasureU. So what was your one thing? I think there was quite a few in there. If you're a dashboard junkie like me, there's lots of cool little things that you kind of think about to make your dashboards better. Or if you're like wanting to get on lots of different coaching calls, that maybe that was it. Like, oh, I didn't know I had access to all of those things. So maybe that was it. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'd love to see you back on the next one. And if you are watching on YouTube and you're like, I need to get access to MeasureU, I need to make sure I'm getting this material, weeks ahead of everybody else along with the MeasureU community, you can always go to measureu.com/workshop and you'll be able to go through and see which option is best for you. And if you're not sure, don't hesitate to reach out to support and ask for help to see which best fits you and your needs. And that's it. What's new for January 2025? We are so grateful that you're here with us in this brand new year, and we'll see you next time.